Welcome back. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to load and save data using the Weka API. Now Weka can handle several file formats. The most common one, or the standard Weka format is known as the ARFF format, but it can also handle the very common CSV, comma separated value, or the character separated value format. Now let's read a little bit about the ARFF format to get familiar with it, and then we'll show you how to load it and save it. The ARFF format stands for ARFF, ARFF stands for Attribute Relation File Format. It's an ASCII text file, a normal text. It has two sections: header information, which is followed by the data information. So we have header, and then data. Any line in the file that starts with the percentage symbol is considered as comment, so it gets ignored. And then we have in the very first line at relation, as you can see, that's required, and we give the relation a name, so for the task we have, and then we provide a list of attributes. We say at attribute, and then we give the attribute name, attributes or features or descriptors, or they have different names, but usually we call them features or attributes. So at attribute, and then we give the attribute name and then the type, so it can be numeric or nominal, as we will see in a few moments. And then we just give a list of the attributes, and then the last one is the class. As you can see here, it's nominal, so when it's nominal we provide a list of different values, distinct values in curly brackets. And then after that we just provide data by saying at data, and then we provide the values for each attribute and then the class one, and these need to be in the same order as these. So remember that each instance now is each line represents an instance, and as we said, the percent line that begins with the percentage is a comment. At relation, at attribute, and at data declarations are case insensitive, so they can be capital case or small case. It's not a problem. Even for these, numeric can be capital case or small case. It's not a problem at all. Now for data types, we have numeric, we have nominal, where we specify them explicitly, as we showed here for the class value. Any attribute can be nominal, by the way, not necessarily the class only. We can have string, which we put inside double quotations, and we can have a date type, which is we provide as date format. Now for numeric, for integer values or real values, they will all be represented as numeric. Anyway, as I said, you can read about this from here, from the University of Weka, or from the wiki spaces. The ARFF format, you can read the book version. There's a nice explanation and some examples. There's also explanation of the sparse ARFF format. I'll probably have a separate video on this later, but let's go now to our code and see how things work. Now what I've done in the background is I've created a small class inside the package called load save data, and in the class I'm importing the instances class and a class called ARFF from the weka.call.converters.arfsaver, and then some classes for input and output. The way this works is as follows. We use the instances class. We can go to the actual documentation and read about it. So we have a class called instances, which is list all classes, and then we go to the letter I, and then we can read about the instances class. This shouldn't take long. Anyway, as I said, I'm assuming you're familiar with these things. So we go to instances, and we can see that it's a class for handling an ordered set of weighted instances. And the good thing, as we mentioned before, there's a code snippet on how to use it. So we just basically we can use it in this way, for example, using the converter utilities.data source class, or we can use it straight away as we want. And there's a huge list of very useful methods that we can read about and use. There's a nice, very large list. We'll use maybe to summary string just to show you how to use it. So the way we do it is instances, and then we give the object a name, new instances, and we pass it a path to the actual dataset file. Here this is just an example dataset in a file reader object, which is passed to a buffered reader object, which is passed to the instances class. and then we just maybe use the method to summary string, which is inside instances class, to print out summary string, and then we use the ARFF saver class, which again we can read about from the actual documentation. So it's called ARFF saver, ARFF saver, which is, I think I've just seen it, ARFF saver. Yes, you go there, click on it, and then here it tells you write to a destination in ARFF text format. So we load it, we print out the summary string, and that's how we save it. ARFF saver equals new ARFF saver. We set the instances to this instances here, to these instances, or this instances object, and then we just set the file where we write using a file object, and then we just write batch. Notice now for the IO exceptions, I'm just throwing a general exception here. Maybe that's not a good practice, but just to show you how things work, I'm sure you can deal with these things on your own. Now let me just execute this, and as you can see, it's printing out now a summary string of the dataset we have loaded, and it has actually saved it to my desktop. To verify, let me just use my terminal and then go to my desktop. I named it new.arf, and as you can see, the ARFF file is there, and the one we loaded is in my test directory, and then house.arf, and there you go. As you notice now that in this file here, attribute, a relation, and data are in capital case, whereas in this file here they are in small case. That doesn't make any difference. Now to use the data source, we need to import it. Maybe just another way of using it. The documentation says a typical usage, so we'll use the one recommended. So we'll just comment this out and then use the data source. Data source equals new data source. We pass it the full path to the dataset file, and then we say instances dataset equals source.get dataset. So Eclipse here is complaining these are not used. We can comment them out if we want.